Hi there, my name is Isa and I'm going to teach you how to contour today. Now before we start, I wanted to do a little bit of background. I am from Oregon and I'm a recently graduated senior, 2020, and I am also a pageant girl. I have been doing pageants for about 5 years consecutively, and this will be my 6th competition that I will be competing in October. And in the time that I have been doing pageantry in the past couple of years at least, I've been learning a lot of makeup tips and tricks that I didn't know starting out. In my first year, everything I knew was from YouTube, and somehow I won with that. I'm so sorry, old me. But I learned everything I knew from YouTube, and while it is a great start, YouTube is not the end-all be-all for makeup. And I wanted to teach you some things that I've learned from cosmetologists that I've known, and some other people that I've met, and then also just my own experimentation. I think it's really important to learn and teach other people what you learn as you go. And today I wanted to teach you about contour. In order to teach you about contour, I have wiped off most of my makeup, not my eye makeup, but I wiped off all my makeup and then reapplied foundation so that all my contour that was from earlier today is gone. It's like 9 p.m. And I'm doing this video, but I'm going to be doing my contour. The first one is going to be what other YouTubers suggest. I looked up how to contour on YouTube and then clicked on the first couple of videos that came up. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do one side with what YouTubers suggest, and then I'm going to do the other side versus what I tend to do. And then you can decide for yourself which one you'd rather do. There's no right or wrong way to do makeup, but I think it definitely helps to share our tips and tricks, and you can kind of see what you like better, and you can experiment a little better that way. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so I've got my bag of makeup brushes, and I've got my Beauty Gems makeup palette. I got this from Ulta sometime last year. I don't quite remember. It was like $12.99. As you can guess, I am not one of those people who will recommend a lot of high-end products. I think high-end products can be really great, but they cost a lot of freaking money, and if you're poor, like, yeah, I understand. Like, we don't have the money to be investing in all this stuff. And two, even if you're not, hell, even if you can afford these high-end products, not all of them are worth the money. So it takes, I'd say, a fair amount of research outside of YouTube to see what has good reviews and what doesn't, because a lot of YouTubers, I don't want to make YouTubers sound bad, it's their revenue, but I think a lot of YouTubers will say that these products are better than they are because it gets them revenue, and I understand that you gotta make money. I'd say do your own research before you invest in products that you might not end up liking. Even if they say it's good, sometimes it works really well for them and it might not work for you. I mean, I've had that plenty of times. I actually started an apprenticeship with Modus Makeup when I was 16, almost 17, so about a year and a half ago, and I fell asleep during the training a couple of times because that was a long weekend. But the actual thing I wanted to say was some of the makeup products work amazing on me, and I love them dearly, and they might not work amazing on others. Some of the things that I really, really like, other girls from the training hate, and some of the ones that everyone else swears by, I can't stand. It just depends on you, really. That's what it comes down to. But yeah, let's go ahead and watch some videos, huh?
Using my L'Oreal True Match Concealer in Vanilla. And with highlighting and concealing, I just apply it to the areas that I want to bring forward, and this is going to help create that nice natural glow. So I always do under my eyes, and I sort of do like a triangle like so, and same with the other side. I also have some redness under my nose, so I'm gonna conceal there. Also, I like to bring my chin forward a little bit and just apply it underneath here. And lastly, just on my forehead and on the bridge of my nose. Just a thin line for the nose. So I usually do it about there and do a little dot at the end.
Okay, so before I start on this, on the critiques and stuff, I want to make it clear I am not hating on any of the beauty YouTubers in this video. This is just my observations based on the experiences I've had over the last couple of years. The way they do makeup is gorgeous. It looks amazing on them, and I'm proud of all the progress they've made. However, I'd like to share some of the things that I've learned over the years, just based on stuff that I've learned from cosmetologists, from other pageant sisters, from my own experimentation, etc. So I don't want anybody to take this as like I'm hating on the other YouTubers or bashing them to bring myself up, because that is not what I'm trying to do. This is just me going through and being like, okay, so here's one way to do it and here's the other way to do it. So I guess the first thing I want to say is with her look, with the concealer, she's got this triangle of makeup here, of concealer, and especially with liquid concealer, you don't need that much. I personally use cream concealer, which I think tends to not be as spreadable, but with liquid concealer, you do not need a full triangle of makeup. What that does is it clogs up your pores a lot, and sometimes can even make them more noticeable. I don't know if anyone else has large cheek pores, but I do, and it makes it look awful and cakey. Now, this isn't, the same for everybody, but I would say don't use that much concealer unless you're doing something like on stage. That's when I tend to use those kinds of looks, is when I am on stage in evening gown, in swimsuit, whatever it is that I am happening to be doing. So with liquid concealer, unfortunately, I don't have any to show because, again, I'm poor and mom no longer has liquid concealer. Half the time I just steal my mom's makeup. But I would say with liquid concealer, 1 or 2 dots underneath the eyes is perfect. I wouldn't use any more than that just because that's a lot of product to put on your face, and you really just don't need that much. I'd say the other critique I have, which you're going to see in a minute, is she used her beauty blender to blend it out, and with that much product, yeah, I could see why she'd do that. I'd say the best thing to do is to use your finger, because that is, you can get better details that way, so you can get up in places that you can't necessarily get with a beauty blender. But yeah, so using your finger helps get into places that a beauty blender can't necessarily get into, and it controls it a lot better where the product goes. That's why I don't like using so much product, is it just using that much product, you don't, have to worry about where it goes. Using a little less tends to make it, you tend to have to be really careful about where you're putting it so that you don't have to continue putting more on because you're missing spots. I think that made sense. But I'm still going to do the blending or the concealer with that much, even though I don't have liquid concealer. I've got cream concealer. This is Almay Skin Perfecting Comfort Concealer, and it is 100 Fair, which is, yeah, thank you, Oregon, for giving me the lightest skin in the world. Now you'll see I'm not really dragging it under the eye, I'm mostly just tapping with a little bit of extra motion. And the reason I'm doing that is a lot of people make the mistake, especially in the beginning, of dragging under the eye. What that does is gives you premature wrinkles, because this part of the eye, the skin is very, very sensitive and malleable. And so eyes and eyelids, under eye, and neck are like very, very sensitive, and you don't want to, ruin things. You don't want to look old before you're 40. So then I'm going to use the Beauty Blender to blend it out. Now, this is not going to spread as much as her liquid concealer did. Again, cream concealer does not spread as well. But I'm still going to try my best. That kind of worked. But yeah, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see. You can see how like big and pronounced my pores kind of look right here. Under the eye, I don't really have to worry about that, but on the cheek, that's why I don't like putting concealer like on the cheek. So this is a no-no spot specifically for me. And let's continue.
So I'm just going to blend it into my skin, and I'm just using a tapping motion because I don't want to shift and move the concealer too much. And can you see, once it's blended out, it creates more dimension to your face. So this part is the lighter part, and then later we're going to go in and contour. So that's going to recede and sculpt the face. Cool, so now that I'm done with that, I'm going to move on to contouring. Today I'll be using drugstore products because a lot of you guys have requested that I use more affordable products, but I'll also be pointing out the high-end, more expensive product that you can use as well. So today I'll be using the Maybelline Fit Me foundation. This one is a stick one, and the color is Toffee Caramel. So this is an actual foundation because I couldn't find any cream contouring products, but it's just going to work the same, and it's pretty affordable. Now, if you want a high-end product, I recommend the Stila Shape and Shade Custom Contour Duo. I like to use the color medium. With contouring, it all depends on your face shape and which areas you want to pull back and recede. So if there's a certain part of your face that you don't like, say your nose you think it's too big and you want to slim it down, you can slim the sides down. And same goes for your forehead, for your jawline, but basically the ideal face shape is the oval face shape. So if you just draw an imaginary oval on your face, like so, anything outside that oval you can pretty much contour if you're going for the ideal face shape.
So while I do understand kind of the reason why she said that an oval shape is like the ideal face shape, I kind of disagree. While a lot of cosmetology books will be like, yeah, oval, you want your face to look most like an oval. While that is kind of what contouring tends to do, I'd say the best thing to do is work with what you have. If you have a round face shape, you can learn to do different things with it. You don't necessarily have to have an oval face. I enjoy having a square face very much. Like, I've got the high cheekbones, I've got the jaw, I've got a giant freaking forehead, and that's just how it is. I don't know, I just don't like the idea of one thing being the ideal and nothing else being okay. I know that's not what she meant, but that's kind of what it feels like, just a little bit. I don't know, I could be crazy.
Otherwise, you can just customize it to your own face and hide the areas that you don't like, or bring out the areas that you do with highlighting. So each person is going to be very different. Today I'm going to show you guys on my face shape and what I would do to sort of define and sculpt my face. It could be different with your face though, so keep that in mind. I always like to start contouring underneath my cheekbone. Now, everyone's face is different, and a lot of people like to do the fish sucking face like so. And they find where their cheekbone is and just place it into the hollows where that gap is, and you usually just contour there. Another trick that I like to do, and I find that it's easier because when I do it on clients, sometimes getting them to do the fish sucking face isn't the best. I'm going to start off at the top of my ear and visualize a line coming down to the corner of my mouth. So that's the line that I want to contour, but I'm going to stop where my pupil is so then I don't look too sucked in. So I'm going to do that now. So I've just stopped where my eyeline is, and this could be a little bit thicker if you want a really contoured look, but basically the thickest part should be towards the ear and the thinnest part should be near the mouth, so it should sort of taper.
So she mentions a thing where she says she goes from the top of her ear and visualizes a line downward. There are two things wrong with this. The first is you don't want the line. So here, I'm gonna make a fish face really quick. We don't like that line because this is already where you have a you already have like the dip here. What contouring the dip that's already established does is it just makes your face look a lot sharper. You look more gaunt, which is not necessarily what we want. What contouring is supposed to do is give you the illusion of higher cheekbones. I already have high cheekbones, but yes, I can make them look higher. And it's also meant to, you know, make your jaw look a little sharper, make your forehead smaller, make your nose smaller, etc., etc., etc. So, what contouring, when it's, you know, you do it like this and you're basically cupping your cheekbone, that doesn't really do the job. So I'm going to show you on this side, I'm going to do it, but I personally feel like there are better ways to do it. But yeah, so I'm using my palette, got the slide out option. I tend to like the kind of reddish brown one, not this one, but this one here, and that's the one I'm going to use. And where is my contour brush? That's my powder brush. There's my contour brush. Unfortunately, I do not know what company this came from. This was just a regular drugstore brush from Bi-Mart, so that tells you how poor I am. But yeah, so I'm gonna get some product on a brush. If you're doing makeup on someone else, do not blow because that gets bacteria everywhere. What you want to do is you get the makeup on a brush and you either tap or you just either one of those. But yeah, and then what you're gonna do, what she does is, and if you want to get a sharper line, use the edge of the brush, like right here, like that, and yeah, and then I can't remember, does she use cream? I think she uses foundation for contouring. I don't think she's using powder, and I'll tell you my thoughts on that in a minute. But she basically brought it to about here, so right about where the cheek ends. So, you know, where, you know, on an older person the smile lines would be. So that's about where she ends it, maybe a little further back. But you can see that deepens everything, and it does make my face look sculpted. But again, I will show you the differences when we get to my side. But yeah, so this is what she's basically doing. And if I'm correct, I should go back and just like watch the video and look, but I'm already recording and I don't want to stop because I'll forget. But yeah, so I think she was using like a cream contour stick or dark foundation, and while that can be pretty cool, I tend to not like cream foundation, or yeah, a cream stick on top of foundation, because it tends to look very ruddy and red. If you have more of a reddish toned one, either way, it's harder to blend. It can remove the foundation underneath when you're trying to blend it, though it depends on how malleable it is. The best thing that I found to do is, if you're going to use a cream stick, put that on underneath your foundation. So put that on first before you put any foundation on. Even if you have super high coverage foundation like mine, mine's Jennifer Bradley, by the way, in the lightest shade they have, whichever one that is. No, number 3. Mine's number 3. But yeah, so even if you have super full coverage makeup like this, that like erases everything, just use a lighter amount, and what that does is it blends it out to make it kind of smoother, I guess. And it just takes away a lot of the redness, just makes it look a lot nicer, and it looks really good. I suggest you look at some videos for that because it is amazing. And at some point I'll probably show you what that looks like when I have a cream contour stick again. I threw my other one away because I was never using it. But yeah, let's continue.
Cool, I look sort of crazy, but that's the look I'm going for. Now I'm going to move on to my jawline, and what I like to do is just follow my jawline. So I always like to start off in the corner and do the other side and just follow along there. Now if you want that really defined V shape and make your jawline a bit more slimmer, you can also just bring that contour up a little bit.
The other thing that she does is she follows basically the jawline here and just right along that line. And that's not the most effective way to contour a jaw, but I will show you what that looks like on me so you can kind of see. Like I said, I'm copying, so let's copy. Ignore how weird I sound. My earphone on my right side keeps coming out and I'm not happy with it. Here, this is a good way to do it. There, now we can see what the frick is going on. And then you just blend that out, right? So let's do that. This feels so rudimentary, honestly. Now, well, you can definitely tell there's a line here. I don't like this, and not just because it looks awful. I had to put on so much for this because I have a white light, but you can still tell it's a lot. But yeah, so this works, but again, it feels very rudimentary to me. But yeah, we're gonna go on to the next YouTuber and I'll show you some of the stuff that she does.
So I'm just going to stipple this into my face.
So I don't know if this was just the angle or if this was what she was actually doing, but when she was blending in the foundation, or what's it, concealer, whatever she was blending, when she was blending the neck, she seemed to be pulling down. And you do not, like I said before, this is all super sensitive areas, and you don't want to drag at all. So that was just like, that drove me a little crazy. But like I said, it could have just been the angle and she wasn't actually dragging and it just looked like it. But yeah, pro tip, do not drag here, here, or here. Her foundation was too dark. But yeah, so that's a problem, but that happens. And we work with what we have.
Next, I'm going to go in with some concealer. This is the Shape Tape Concealer from Tarte. This is a very, very, very full coverage concealer. So I am going to take it, wipe off some of the product, and then dot it under the eyes. And now, as you can see, this is a lot lighter because that foundation was a little bit too dark. I'm going to balance it out on the high points of the face. So a little bit down the nose and on the tip of the nose, the tip of the chin, and just a little bit here on the forehead.
And the problem I find with concealer is she did 3 dots under the eye with liquid concealer, and while that is still better than what Tina did, I still think it's too much. I think the best thing about contouring is that you get to build it up. I don't like it when people just go in and just go, because then if you put too much on, it's hard to get that product off. It's better to start out small and then gradually build up. Now, what I did like is she put a pretty good amount on her nose, forehead, and chin. So that was good. I really liked that. So yeah, let's continue.
One of my favorite products for cream highlighting is this product right here. This is the L'Oreal Magic Lumi Highlighting Pen. This is in the shade number 1. It is a lighter shade. I think they have 3 different shades. This is seriously hands down a dupe for the YSL Touche Eclat. So I'm gonna roll this up and I'm just gonna show you the areas that I am going to highlight. I'm gonna go right down the nose. I'm gonna make a V on the chin. Do the top of the lip just because it makes it look bigger. And now we're gonna do here on the forehead, and then I'm gonna go here, make a vertical line, and then one going right up on the bone, like this. You don't wanna bring it too far into the cheek, and then again, vertical, and then up here, and it's going right on the top of the bone. If you want to help that even more, you could even bring this here just to help you with that whole illusion, the whole shape that we're basically trying to make.
So the fact that she added another highlight once she already had the concealer was a little much. What that does is under this light, you know, the white light, it looks really good. But when you step out from under that, it tends to make things look dry or caked on, or sometimes it just doesn't look good. It tends to actually bring out blemishes more in my experience. So I would say choose one thing to highlight, and like I said, build up gradually. Don't pile a bunch on right away. Start off with just a little bit. Use your finger if you can, or a brush that's meant for concealer, and just kind of do this, tap, don't drag, obviously. And then, like I said, build up as you go. Don't start off with a lot, because then that is really hard to fix once it's on.
I'm going to go in and cream contour. I'm going to be using the Bobbi Brown foundation stick in Almond. This past week I've tried out so many different products, and this so far is still my favorite. I could maybe go with a little bit of an ashier shade, but that's fine. Normally when you see people contour, you see them bring this here and under and almost like cup the cheek and make it look that way, but I feel like my cheeks are already big enough. I don't need to be doing that. I'm actually gonna go the opposite direction. So I'm gonna find the line that I want. I'm kind of looking down into my mirror so that I can create the angle already that I'm trying to achieve. So I'm gonna start at the top of the ear here, and I'm only gonna use a little bit of product because I have done this before on camera and I used way too much product and it was kind of like, oh, this is a lot of stuff. So these are very creamy, very blendable. Always use less than you think, because if you use too much, then it can be kind of a hassle to try to blend out. So I'm only gonna dot this. I'm gonna bring it down here and then here. And normally this is like the angle that you want, but now we wanna kind of curve it downwards and kind of go vertically here. And now I'm also going to be contouring the jawline because I want that to look really sharp, and that kind of like, you know, makes us look skinnier. So I'm gonna dot this area here. You want to get right there. That's an important line because that kind of like cuts it vertically there and makes that little like, and then here we're doing the top of the ear like that, and then downwards.
So you already know my thoughts on cream foundation and why I don't like it as much as powder foundation for over, and you know why I don't like it as much over the foundation versus under, but you know, that's okay. Everyone does it differently. The thing that I find a little strange, and maybe that's just because we have different face shapes, but kind of putting it down here, that again makes someone look very gaunt, which is not necessarily the look you want to go for. What you want to achieve is higher looking cheekbones, a sharper jaw, you know, a more ovalish face, which is kind of how that usually goes. You don't want to look gaunt and sickly. You're trying to look healthy. You know, you're trying to, you know, achieve the beauty standard of society right now. And so I don't really necessarily understand that, but that's just me. It could be just because of her face shape.
Okay, and now for the forehead, say you contour right here, it's just gonna squish it even shorter. With a round face shape, our face can feel very even on all sides. So if we're contouring the sides and we're contouring the top, it's not really doing anything. It's still keeping the shape the same. So instead, I try not to contour the top of my forehead because that's just gonna bring it down further. If you have like a really big forehead that you want to contour, that's fine, go for it. But I've got, I think, a pretty normal size forehead. I don't think it's too big, I don't think it's too small, so I just do the sides here. So I'm gonna carry this here and just dot it, and then I'm gonna be carrying this lower in here, but not too far in the center.
I absolutely agree with her methods on contouring the forehead. If you have a small forehead, do not contour up here. There is no point, because it's just going to make it look a lot smaller. If you have a giant forehead, like Brendan Uries or mine, then doing, you know, all over, I can get that. But I'd say for people with rounder faces, people with faces that are just compact. I'd say contour here at the temples, not a lot, but a little bit, and up here. And then just leave this alone. It is off limits. Do not.
So what you're gonna do is just start blending on that line, and instead of blending upwards into the cheek, I'm actually blending it down into this area. I will go back in and clean up this area with some highlighting product too, but this is how you kind of want to start this off. I think if you blend it upwards into that area here, it tends to make my cheek look too round and too big, and it's not doing exactly what I'm wanting it to do.
So now we get to blending down. So blending down, what that does is it tends to make you look, again, more gaunt. What you usually actually want to do is blend upward, because what that does is it gives the illusion of much higher cheekbones. It makes it look a little less gaunt, and then it gives you some color to your cheeks that the blush can't necessarily do. I tend to mix the blush with the I'd like to mix the blush with the contour up here, because that gives you some life to your face.
All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and kind of clean it up. I am gonna do some baking. I'm actually not a huge fan of baking. I feel like it's just a lot, but with this new technique that I've been doing, it has really helped me kind of clean it up and really make it more defined and more like the shape that I want. So
No. Oh god, I was really hoping she wasn't gonna do it, but she did. I do not have loose powder. I do have a setting powder, which I'm not going to bring it out right now. You basically know kind of what I'm into. You kind of know what this side looks like. But god, I hate baking. I could make an entire video on why I hate baking so much. It does not do anything. What that does is it dries out your skin, and if you have naturally oily skin, it's going to make your skin work overtime to produce even more oil. You don't want to do that. And even if it doesn't dry out your skin a lot, it just doesn't really do much for the face. If you want to lighten these areas, use something that actually highlights. Use concealer. Use something that isn't powder, because that's just going to dry out your face and cause problems. Okay, now that we're done, I do want to add some other tips that I didn't add throughout the video yet. One thing that I find about jaw contouring that people don't really do much is, even if you're doing cream contour on the face, I would avoid doing cream contour down here, because a lot of blending with cream contour has to do with a little bit of dragging and a little bit kind of a dab drag motion, and you don't want to do that on the under side of your jaw here. I would recommend a powder for that, just to help keep everything, not damaged. But yeah, I'm going to show you what I tend to do with my contouring makeup. So I've got my product right here. It's on this brush, and this brush, you can tell, is a little like angled almost. Like, you can see that. Like, it's not like my powder brush. Like, this is my powder brush. It's much rounder than this, you can see. But yeah, so rather than start, I don't want to start here in this line. I want to start just above it. And I don't want to have a lot of product at first. I just want to very carefully start kind of dabbing and bringing this up here. The other thing is, I don't like it when people bring their contour so far, like here and here. You don't need to bring out your contour that far. What that actually does is it makes you look older, because it starts to settle in the creases. But you really want to end about here. Like, I'd say that's the farthest you want to go, is this line here. So we're going to continue contouring like this. You'll notice this is where YouTubers tend to put blush. You still want to put blush here, actually, because it brings a lot of good color to the face. But yeah, so now I've got this done, and I do bring it under a little bit, but the primary place that you want it is on the cheekbone, because that gives you a much higher cheekbone. You can tell the differences, this versus this. This has a much nicer line. But yeah, so you can see that, and yeah, the next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna do the underside of the jaw. I'm not just going to do a line. Here's what I'm actually gonna do, and I think this is going to vary person to person based on their face shape. But for square jaws, or for anyone wanting a fairly sharp jaw, you don't need to contour your actual jaw much. You need to contour under. And it takes a bit of practice to learn how to do that without it looking weird. But what this does is it gives the illusion, it just adds shadows underneath the jaw, which makes it pop out more. Like, you can see the difference. Like, this looks much sharper than this. But yeah, it depends. I'd say if you want to round out more, then yes, I would contour along the actual line. But if you want it to be sharper, go under. And next, since I have a large freaking forehead, we're going to contour this and this a little bit too. I don't necessarily need to contour the sides of my forehead since I already have a long face. But I'm just kind of showing off what I do here. And yeah, when I said blend the temples, I just do a little bit here and connect it to the contour that's already down here, and that just, yeah, adds some extra color and looks pretty nice. So this is the side, and then this is the side that they had me do. And then I forgot to do concealer, but I'll just show you just a little bit. With cream concealer, it does not spread nearly as easy, so I tend to use a bit more. But with liquid concealer, 1 dot's usually good. And then yeah, so this is the differences between the looks. This side, just, I look a lot more gaunt. I don't look bad, but I don't feel like I look as put together on this side as I do on this side. And then I'll demonstrate what I meant when I said I tend to put my blush over. So I've got a little bit of blush here, and I'm just gonna, and what I like to do is I don't focus a lot on the apples of my cheeks. I do a little bit, but I tend to actually drag most of it up through here, and that just adds some good color. I'll also tend to do a little bit here, a little bit on the nose, a little bit on the chin. But yeah, most goes along here, and that just adds some a really nice pop of color. You know, some people don't do the apples of the cheeks at all, and they just do the sides. I'd say that's definitely a more mature look. But another really good one to do is if you want a more natural look. Like, this is totally a stage look, but if you want a more natural look, the actual way blush travels is up this way. So if you want it to look natural, here I'll demonstrate on this side. We'll do and this is a much more natural representation of, we're gonna ignore how bad this looks. This is a more accurate representation of how blush travels. So if you want to do something that looks more natural, follow kind of like sort of that. Just follow from basically like this back bit of the jaw toward like right, like the corner of your eye, and follow that line, and that's about how it travels. And do not be afraid to blend it out, because that's like 90% of makeup is blending. But yeah, so that was my video on contouring. That went slightly awry, I apologize. Thank you very much. Love you. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that jazz, and I will see you next time.